Well, Chris Griffiths, the CEO of Amplats, joins us now on the line to give us further detail on the agreement with the DMR and labour unions yesterday. Chris, thanks for your time. Just looking at that tripartite statement from the DMR, I suppose it does give some detail, but going further into it, I understand, according to NUM, that there'll be task teams established that, of course, to relook Amplats' restructuring plans. So can you give us further detail on what was agreed to yesterday and how are you going to participate in this process going forward?
Thanks, Samantha. Yeah, I think a couple of points are important. The first point I'd like to make is it is important to remember that there has always been a consultation process with labour that is envisaged. Normally that's done through what is called a Section 189 process. So you normally do your consultation in the process that the Department of Labour prescribe, and normally with the help of a CCMA commissioner. So what the DMR and Labour have asked us to do is saying, look, let's do that consultation process outside of the Section 189, and we want to do it in a way that we can perhaps put more time and more effort into doing that. And we've agreed to do that process, which really says that we will postpone the commencement of the 189 process, so the Department of Labour process, and the front-end portion that you normally do in that process, what we would do is do that in this process that we've described as a tripartite consultation process. So what we would do in there is do actually whatever is necessary to be able to demonstrate from the company's point of view why we've come to the position that we've come to, what alternatives we've considered, and then the same opportunity is then given to the unions to both, of course, interrogate the information that we provide, but also to look and provide for additional solutions that they may think may be part of perhaps reducing or completely eliminating the need for the restructuring process. So that is a normal process that normally happens in the 189, but now is happening in this tripartite process. So what we would be doing now going forward is there's sort of natural clusters of issues to be discussed. I mean, that could be, for example, a finance, information, operations, issues around the marketing. So those are normal clusters that you would package sort of similar issues into. And so around those natural clusters of information, we would then put in place task teams to actually go away and do more detailed work. So the company would present information around those. We could invite specific or identified specialists that could become part of that process. So that's the kind of process that you would expect to see in this consultation process.
Who's going to be overseeing this whole process? Who is likely to be on the task team or appointing who is going to be these independent consultants? And how long is this a period envisioned to be?
So the period we made mention of in our statement, saying that this consultation process would take no more than 60 days, and at the end of that process, then the Section 189 process would recommence. So it's not a dramatic increase in the amount of time, plus some of this work that we would have done in any event in the Section 189 process will be done up front. So it's not anticipated that this would substantially delay the process. There's a small team that has been put together from each of the unions, the Department of Mineral Resources, and ourselves that will help coordinate this process. I guess it'll be under the chairmanship of the DMR. But then what we would do, those teams would then identify from within the various constituents who should be part of the team. So, for example, if there's a finance task team, then there would be more financial people, I guess. And then those teams would identify if there was a need for specialists and if so, then who those specialists would be. But it's the small team that will actually decide that.
Now, if the task team comes up with a different solution to the one that Amplats has already put on the table regarding mothballing of certain shafts and, of course, the intention to sell the Union mine, would Amplats be prepared to relook at its plans already presented?
Again, I think it's important to understand, I mean, we've spent a year looking at the various aspects. So we think we've got I think we think we understand the issues. We understand what is driving the company and the industry to the low levels of profitability that we're seeing at the moment. But the whole notion of that these are proposals and that they would be discussed in a forum where there is consultation means that the company means that we have to be able to be open to alternative suggestions. So that's exactly the mindset that we have always envisaged this consultation process to be in. If there are better ideas, I mean, there may be additional ideas from government, for example, that could play a part. But all of those would have to happen at within the consultation process. So we go into the consultation process having done a huge amount of work, but remain open to alternative suggestions. But I think it's important to note that there is still a number. The industry is in a lot of difficulty, and the fact is that there's a number of shafts, not only in our company, but also outside of our company, that these shafts are not profit-making. So I think it is important to note that we will listen to alternative suggestions, but the fact is that they need to be able to offer alternatives in the short term that can make a difference. But it is with that mindset that we go into the consultation process.
Given the fact that Amplats was issued with certain mining licenses and certain agreements, were you issued with a Section 47 by the minister, and did she withdraw it given your willingness to engage in this change in the process?
I don't think the engagement process has got nothing to do with licenses and there's threats or no threats. I think the president made it clear at Davos that the government were not intending to pursue companies' licenses, and at the same time, within a company's license, you have to clearly be able to manage your operations profitably. So we don't think that, notwithstanding certain comments that we're making, that our licenses are under threat. And also the president has confirmed that at Davos last week, saying that mining companies' licenses aren't under threat. This was a consultation process that was in any event going to take place. What was now been a request from the Department of Mineral Resources and our labor unions is, let's do this consultation process in a slightly different way, and we have agreed to those requests.
So the minister didn't issue Section 47?
We don't have a Section 47 from the DMR.
Just looking at the scale of job losses, do you get a sense that if the task team came back and said, here are areas where we see you could cut expenses, but still retrenchments will be necessary, but on a lot smaller scale, do you get a sense that the DMR and the minister would be prepared to look at a smaller scale of job losses?
I think it's too early to say any of those things. I think we made it very clear when we made our announcements that with our proposals came a proposal that demonstrated what we'd be doing on the social front. And although there were 14,000 jobs that were affected, first of all, we said that at least a third of those we believed could be redeployed within the mining industry, so they were not net job losses. And then in addition to that, where we thought that there would be job losses, we had come up with a plan that we would still consult on so that everyone can put their input into that as to what the measures we could take to limit the effect of those job losses. So that has always been part of our plan, and that will be the kind of plan that goes into the consultation process. So of course everyone will want to understand first of all, what the issues are, then they'll want to look at our alternatives, and then we'd be looking to them to put alternatives on the table. And all over those things there would be one common denominator: to try and protect jobs as far as we can. But at the same time, the company will have the very pressing issue of the fact that we have, that the company is currently making a loss, and that we have to change the nature of our business so that the company can be profitable again, and thereby actually protect very substantially more jobs that are at risk if we don't do something about the company's profitability.
Now, of course, one of the comments from a mining analyst has been that the platinum price is not where it was this time last year. It's now trading just under $1,700 a fine ounce. Does this change any of the plans that were put on the table in January with regards to the mothballing of the shafts already put in the plan, and of course the Union mine?
No, it doesn't change the picture at the moment. I mean, just having a 1 month increase in platinum price doesn't mean that the fundamentals in the platinum price of supply and demand and of the profitability of these shafts have changed. So if there were fundamental changes to the underlying dynamics that had now sustainably changed the trajectory of price, then that would be a different thing. But there's nothing that is showing us other than there's concern from some suppliers, and they would be trying to buy at a lower price and perhaps stockpiling material. This year we're anticipating not to have, of course, in the industry the same kind of losses that we had last year, so you're expecting to see additional supply come back into the market this year. And if additional supply comes back into the normal market, then we're likely to see an oversupplied market again. Mm-hmm. So I don't think a very short-term increase in platinum price necessarily has changed. There's been fundamental changes that have sustainably increased platinum price.
Now, of course, last week, one of the more controversial comments was from Gwede Mantashe talking about the ulterior motive that Amplats had with regards to the restructuring plans. What is your response to that?
So perhaps this is not a response to the ANC Secretary General. I think this is perhaps, my response would be to society in general, that, the platinum industry has been in trouble for a long time. We've been talking to stakeholders for a long time about the difficulty that the platinum industry has been under. The review was kicked off a year ago because of preceding periods of very, very difficult conditions in the market. So this is not a knee-jerk reaction to punish unions for the labor disputes last year. This is not trying to send some message to government. This is not a message we're trying to send to anyone. This is a company in real trouble, and we're trying to make sure that we can do what's necessary to change the fortunes of the company again. As if life improves in the future again, we can restart our mothballed operations. Mm-hmm. There's many things we can do going forward, but we cannot have a company, certainly the size of Anglo American Platinum, that's continuously non-profitable. Yeah. We must do something about the future of the company, and this is not Anglo American Platinum playing games with anyone. This is a very serious issue that we're trying to turn around the fortune of the company.
Certainly a serious issue, and we know that the majority of the world's platinum reserves sit in South Africa, so obviously a key mining destination. But are there circumstances at which Anglo American would choose to walk away from South Africa and its platinum mines?
Well, I can't comment from Anglo American, but I can certainly comment for Anglo American Platinum, of which I'm the CEO and have been asked to lead and have been asked to come back to platinum to help change the fortunes and to build on my predecessors' success. So I've been asked to come back. I'm a South African. I've always been a South African. I'm not planning to go anywhere, and we have no intention of leaving. Mm-hmm. And I guess the best way for us to take away calls for Anglo American to walk away from South Africa is for our company to be successful. So, the more we can show that the company can be profitable, that we can have good relationships with our government, that we can have good relationships with our employees, the better we can demonstrate that, the more there'll be calls for people to invest in our country. Yeah. And I think that's the best way we can respond to any negative call for either us as a company or any other companies or any investors in Anglo American. The best way we can silence those calls is for us to change around the fortunes of Anglo American Platinum.